morning, guys. Welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. I'm your host, Leland Ragin, here each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. on your sports leader right here, TV 38. Guys, we've got a great show lined up for you today. We'll have Brandon Evans join us a little bit later on in the show. We'll do our NFL Pick'em segment. Brandon and I also do a segment where we talk about the NFL Pro Bowl snubs, who may have gotten left off, who made it on. Guys, I've got a quick name for you that might be on there. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on as well. Also, joining me a little bit later, Craig laying down the law son will be joining me. We'll do our bowl picks. Chick-fil-A Bowl is getting ready to come up. You're going to have the Georgia playing in the Capital One Bowl. Got a lot of games coming up later on this week. Sugar Bowl, a lot of the significant bowls out there as well. Might even have a little quick discussion about Tim Tebow's whining. This guy seems to be a little bit, he's not being the Tim Tebow of old right now, whining about him not getting playing time. Also, Craig and I will also talk about the GACA All-Star game, North-South All-Star football, high school football game that pits the best players in the state of Georgia playing against each other. We've got a few players from right here in the Middle Georgia area going to be a part of that as well. Also, the All-Middle Georgia and All-State teams for the state of Georgia have come out and outstanding. We want to congratulate real quick as well. Keyshawn Hill, 5A Player of the Year in 5A for the state of Georgia. So congratulations, Keyshawn Hill. We'll definitely talk about that and all the participants on that as well. Again, we'll talk about that GACA game that will be held later on today in Columbus, so you guys get a chance. Coach Brian Way, you've got Brian Way, Stacey Harden, David Bruce, Shadrick Risper, and George Collins, all from right here in the Middle Georgia area, will be coaching that South team, so we want to wish them a good luck as well. We'll talk about that a little later on. But first, this past week, we had the Georgia Sports Alliance second annual East-West All-Star game for high school football. A lot of players right here from the Middle Georgia area involved in that game as well. It goes all the way from Muskogee County as far west, all the way as far east as Burke County. The kids that participate right here in from the actual Middle Georgia area, East-West game. The West was coached by which is the red team, was coached by Coach Shadrick Risper of Westside High School. The East team was coached by Putnam County's head coach, Coach Ben Reeves. Let's get to the action, guys, out there at Westside High School at the Bibb Sports Complex last weekend. All right, guys, Coach Shadrick Risper tries to get the red team hyped up pre-game, get them excited and ready for this game. And obviously, the red team wins the kickoff. They get the ball first. Starters on that team coming out of Middle Georgia were Darren Tucker, started at quarterback from Rutland High School, number 14. And you had some interesting things going on in this game. It started off pretty rough. Started off actually with a defensive turnover by the the East team. East team picks up a big fumble. The kid from Lattimore, from Baldwin County High School, Shamar Lattimore, number 77, rumbles in, scores on that one. Extra point is good on that one. Quick lead for the East All-Stars. They jump out 7-0 on the West. Go out again, and obviously immediately after that kickoff, huge hit on the play, made by number 28 on that particular play, Douglas West from Jones County High School, laying the law down on the kickoff against number 20, Kimball McGee. And then coming out as well, Darren Tucker at quarterback, hands off to Nick Davis of the West team. He gets shut down in the backfield by number 74, Derek Washington, again out of Baldwin County High School. Baldwin County had some stout guys on the defensive front as well. David Whipple from Wilkinson County High School. This young man had outstanding performance at quarterback, number 3 for the blue team. He had an outstanding game running and throwing the ball. A great performance, led this team to an outstanding first half of play where the game was actually 13-3 at the half. We're going to kick it off and get back into the second half of play where the West team, the red team, got an opportunity to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. They finally made some moves. They made a quarterback change. They put Corey Moss in from Upson Lee at the quarterback position, number 7. He got an opportunity to run a short, little 2-yard touchdown run for himself. He got in, and that pulled the game really close. Obviously, they started kind of West started kind of pulling back into the game. But to no avail. Obviously, guys, David Whipple, again, number 3. On one particular play, he throws a nice little corner route in the end zone to number 14, Zavondrick Shellington. Shellington out of Jenkins County High School, 6'3", 185 pounds. Throws the ball does a little corner route with him, and Shingleton gets penalized and thrown a flag against the one-on-one coverage. He gets a offensive pass interference. What do? They get pushed back and they line up again, run the exact same play with double coverage. Shingleton goes up again, goes up high, grabs it, snatches it down. And guys, that will end the ball game, where the East prevails for the second year in a row, 19-15 after an onside kick by the West team. But again, big names, big coaches, great players. David Whipple from Wilkinson County was the offensive player of the game. Shamar Lattimore, number 77, was the defensive player of the game from Baldwin County High School with that scoop and score as well. I got a chance to speak to both of these guys after the game. Here's what they had to say. All right, Leland Ragin right here with the Sports Wrap TV 38 WRWR, here with the offensive and defensive player of this East-West All-Star game, Mr. Lattimore, Mr. Whipple. First, I'm going to start, Mr. Lattimore. You had an opportunity to get the rumbling and bumbling and stumbling, had a scoop and score, man. How did that feel? You know, big men don't get to score too often.
It felt great. You know, it still ain't settled in there. It's like a dream, but I wouldn't do it without the team and God.
Well, real quick, what do you think? How good is this game for you guys? Obviously, get an opportunity to get out here one last game as seniors.
It's great. It's a one-in-a-lifetime experience, and I'm glad I could experience it.
All right, now we're going to get with Mr. Whipple, offensive player of the game, Wilkinson County. First and foremost, man, listen, you went out there and you basically led this offense down the field each and every time. You kept the turnovers down. What kind of obvious testament does that pay for the coaches and things that you guys did this week?
Well, we just work hard all week at practice, and you work hard, you play hard.
Well, I like watching you run that read option, obviously, and taking that ball, pulling and throwing it. You run and throw the ball well. You know of anybody right now that we can mention that may be looking at you right now as a player?
Georgia Tech and St. Augustine was looking at me.
All right, well, there it is. Whipple, Lattimore, offensive and defensive players from the East team. You've got, obviously, Wilkinson County and what school?
Baldwin County.
Baldwin County, from my good friend, Coach Dexter Copeland, one of my old buddies from back down in Middle Georgia, right here on the Sports Wrap, TV 38. All right, guys, we also got an opportunity to talk to the 2 head coaches, Coach Reeves and Coach Risper from Putnam County and Westside High School. Here's what they had to say post-game about the GSA East-West All-Star game. All right, Leland Ragin right here with the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR, here with the East and West coaches for this East-West All-Star game from Middle Georgia. Coach Reeves from Putnam County and Coach Risper from Westside High School. You guys, great game, came down to the wire. First of all, Coach Reeves, what do you think about this game and what it does for these kids in the area?
Well, I tell you what, it just gives them another opportunity to step on the field and showcase what they got. We try to give every kid the opportunity to step on the field somehow, some way, and also teach them things through the week that maybe they can carry out and be a little bit more successful. And just end it with a great game, tight game. Defense always had the offenses on both sides of the ball, you know, with 3 days of practice. Just a good environment. Just makes it feel special.
Coach Spoon, obviously you guys had a chance to get a few players in. Y'all rotated guys in. It looks like every 3 or 4 plays, giving everybody an opportunity to play.
Yes, it's great for the kids. It's great for the community. I think the fans had a lot of fun. The kids had a lot of fun. And the coaches had a lot of fun, you know, fellowshipping with each other. And the camaraderie is incredible. And I just enjoyed every minute of it. 2 great coaches and a great game right here. Also a ton of coaches from the local Middle Georgia area, high school head coaches coaching as y'all's assistants. Thank you so much, coaches, y'all, and congratulations on the game. And finally, guys, I got an opportunity at the very end to get to gather up a lot of our local Middle Georgia kids. Number 35, Markel Bourne from Rutland High School. Shercon Wright from Warner Robins High School. You had Mary Persons represented, as well as Westside High School. Here's what they had to say to me post-game. All right, Leland Ragin right here with the Sports Wrap TV 38 WRWR with Big Brian Whitaker, Kevin Jones, Big Rube,
Shurkan Wright, Warner Robins High School, Markel Bowen, Rutland High School. We've got obviously Westside and Mary Persons also represented. Guys, Middle Georgia was represented outstandingly today in this East-West All-Star game by these young men. First and foremost, obviously, Mr. Wright, how great was this for an opportunity you guys get an opportunity to play this game in high school one last time?
It was a great opportunity. We got a lot of college looks, made a lot of new friends.
Made a lot of new friends. All right, Mr. Whitaker, you guys obviously had a nice little run as well, also with Mary Persons and Warner Robins in the playoffs. This gives you guys another opportunity to obviously showcase your talents.
It gave us another opportunity. We meet new friends, had more opportunity for the college scouts. Just have some fun.
All right, Markel Bowen, you got an opportunity to get out here as well to showcase your talents. Rutland High School. Give us what you thought about this experience on your senior year.
Man, I had fun with my boys. That's what I got to say.
All right, Big Rube from Mary Persons in here. You guys had a new head coach. You had Coach Rodney Walker come in from, obviously he left, and then you had Coach Nelson come in and do some great things. What do you think the team, obviously Mary Persons, is going in the future?
I think they can go far. As long as they keep living hard, working hard, they'll be good. They'll be good in the future.
All right, well, thank you. There it is, guys, four of Middle Georgia's best athletes right here from the Sports Wrap, TV 38. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back right here on the Sports Wrap, TV 38, where Craig Lawson will join me and talk about the all-state Georgia football team that consists of a lot of players from the Middle Georgia area in each classification. And our player of the year, Keyshawn Hill, had an opportunity. We got an opportunity. We'll get an opportunity to praise him as well and the things he's been able to do this season. 5A player of the year. We'll also talk about the GACA North-South Classic that's been played since 1938 right over in Columbus, Georgia. Coming up next right here on the Sports Wrap, TV 38. We'll be back.
26, Curtis Brooks.
And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. Again, I'm your host, Leland Ragin, and joining me right now to talk a little bit more about high school football and the All-State, the AP All-State Georgia football team right now, second and first team in most classifications. Craig Lawson. Craig, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. A lot of Middle Georgia names on this list, and I'm excited to talk about it and just really proud of these guys.
Also, guys, I did want to mention the fact that you don't forget you can go over the GACA North-South All-Star Game is being held this weekend in Columbus. You guys get a chance to go over there. The South team is being coached by head coach Brian Wade. He's the head coach for the South. His assistants this year, Stacy Hardin Perry High School, David Bruce from over at Veterans, George Collins from Rutland High School, and Shadrick Risper from over at Westside High School. So he's got a great staff of head coaches that are going to be his assistant coaches for that North-South game.
Linking back up with Coach Bruce again. They've coached together in the past at Warner Robins, so that I'm sure. And
George Collins, who played at went to Warner Robins High School.
Right. So these guys all know each other, so they should do a great job with this game.
It'll be an outstanding game and a lot of talent. First and foremost, we're going to start in 5A and talk about the all-state team right now. And the Offensive Player of the Year, All-State Offensive Player of the Year in 5A, Middle Georgia's own, Northside High School's own, Keyshawn Hill. Unbelievable stats for this kid.
I had the privilege to watch this kid play all year. I called all the Northside games, or most of them anyway. And this kid is, it's cliche, but he's electric. That's the only other way to describe him. Punt returns, kickoff returns. You give him the ball on offense, he can catch it. He can, he can run the ball out of the backfield. Anything that they needed this kid to do, his ball skills are incredible. I couldn't go to a more deserving player.
I watched him win the Tucker game. I watched it firsthand, people. I watched him in the back of the end zone with about 20 seconds left in the game go up and climb a ladder and catch a ball in the back of the end zone in traffic over two defenders. So unbelievable stats, and congratulations to him as well.
Absolutely.
We've also got a ton of other players from the Middle Georgia area in 5A, actually. Only a few in 5A from the Middle Georgia area, but go ahead.
There's actually Austin Roberts, who's, he had an injury-plagued season, but the defensive end for Northside, he was so dominant this year. Rod Harris, the defensive back and one of the team leaders for Warner Robins Demons this year, made it. A great kid.
These are all first team as well.
Yeah, these are first team. And then Miles White, also from Houston County, the senior return man. And then on the second team, Brian Cornish, the offensive lineman from Warner Robins. Also got Colby Knighton from Northside, and Jackson Williamson from Jones County blocking in that wing tee. And then Matt Monday on the second team as well for Warner Robins, their kicker. So well represented is the Middle Georgia area on this list.
Middle Georgia is very well represented, guys, and congratulations to each one of you guys who were elected and nominated on that. A lot of these players are going to be playing on Saturdays now, so we're excited about what these young people have been able to do. Now we've moved down to 4A right now, and we've got some. We've only got a few players in 4A that made it on this particular team. We've got a good little contingency, but you got some kids from West Side of Macon, West Lawrence, and go ahead. I'll let you run the list down.
Well, defensive lineman Jalen Lawrence from West Side, the senior, is on the first team defense.
Great kid.
Also. From West Side is defensive back Kimball McGee, who is a senior. Then defensive back Kebron Rawls from Mary Persons is a junior, is on the first team. And linebacker Johnny O'Neill from West Lawrence is a senior. Those are all the guys that are on the first team defense out of the Middle Georgia area. And on, let's see, this is the second team offense is offensive lineman Joe Rucker, the senior out of Perry.
Big fella, 300.
Big guy, yeah, 305 pounds,
Yeah.
6'3", 305 pounds. And offensive lineman Heath Warren from Mary Persons, a senior, 6'4", 240. And then also second team defensive lineman out of Rutland, Marquil Bowen, who's a senior.
My kid. And I'll tell you something. I'm just do a real quick insight on this kid, number 35. He actually played in the GSA game this past week. They had him actually playing at nose tackle. He's 6'2", 235 pounds. He is a monster. He's playing out of position. Great kid as well. I hope some good things happen for that young man at Rutland High School.
Absolutely. And finishing out the list is defensive back A.J. Rowley, a senior from Perry. That rounds out the Middle Georgia representation for the 4A All-State team.
Well, here's what we're going to do, guys. And we're going to run through this pretty quickly as well. I'm going to touch on some of the All-Middle Georgia football kids that made on the All-Middle Georgia team right now. First team already, guys, you already know who it is. First team player of the year, Keyshawn Hill. How about this? This excites me right now. You've got Brian Nelson, head coach at Mary Persons. I said this. I think you said Kinsler. I said Coach Nelson last week was my coach of the year. He wins the Middle Georgia Coach of the Year as well. First team offense, Noah Gray. Now this covers all classifications, not just 4A, 5A, and so forth, so on. Obviously, Noah Grayer, Andre Williams, out of Jones County, DeMarcus Robinson out of Peach County, Shannon Smith, who's headed to Troy, out of West Side of Macon as well. Obviously, some of the familiar names again: Joe Rucker, Markel Grace out of Wilcox County, Matt Monday made it as well. Corey Moss over at Upson Lee. I got a chance to see him play in that GSA game this past week as well. Unbelievable kid. Markel Bowen again. Johnny O'Neill, Trey Payne from Northside High School, he makes it as well. The stud Nigel Bowen, 6'2", 235-pound middle linebacker at Central, who's a Vanderbilt committee. He makes it as well. All I can say is this: Middle Georgia has some of the best talent. If you're not recruiting Middle Georgia, I'm telling you something, college coaches, JUCO, everything else, if you're not recruiting Middle and South Georgia, you've got issues, guys.
Yeah, lot of talent, like you said. I mean, guys like Trey Payne, just team leadership of Trey Payne. That kid's probably going to end up going to Western Kentucky is the consensus right now, although that could change. And a lot of crazy stuff that can go on leading up to signing day. But, I mean, just watching that kid play, all these kids from Northside, DeMarcus Robinson from Peach County is a great player, great wide receiver. And, all these kids are well-deserving. And, like you said, coaches come down here and recruit.
All right, guys, that was we talked about our All-State and All-Middle Georgia All-Stars in high school football right here. Craig and I are going to come back and do our our College Bowl picks and future NFL players. Our College Bowl picks, and the University of Georgia loses one of its key anchors on that defense. Guys, I'm telling you, I hate to see this happen during that time. Right here on the Sports Wrap, TV 38, WRWR. We'll be back. And guys, welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. Right here joining me again, we just did our all-state high school selections and the people here from the local Middle Georgia area, and also talked about the GACA North-South All-Star Game that's going to be going on in Columbus later on today. Right now, again, joining me, Craig Lawson. We're going to do our college bowl picks right now. We've got a lot of games ramping up. The significant games are coming and coming quick, Craig.
Yep, a lot of. When I looked at it initially, I wasn't super excited about a lot of these matchups, but as the bowl season has progressed on, I think we actually have some stuff to look forward to coming up here, and I'm pumped about it.
Well, all you Georgia Tech fans out there, Mr. Birdsong, we were talking about you as well right now. Todd Wilson. Hyundai Sun Bowl. That game will be held New Year's Eve at 2 p.m. in El Paso, Texas. USC, yes, that's right, people. The USC Trojans will be facing our Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And this is going to be an interesting game, and to see how Georgia Tech actually can play against USC, a team like a Big Ten team or Pac-12 team like that.
Very intriguing matchup. I think that Georgia Tech is going to have to fight to stay close in this game. They've had problems in the secondary, and USC likes to air it out to Marquise Lee and Robert Woods, and also they have Matt Barkley. I think USC will win this game. I hope that Tech is able to keep it close, and it's going to be tough if they get behind because they run that option offense. It's just hard to score quickly.
I think Tech actually loses this game as well. I think USC, and it'll drop Tech to 6-8 on the season, which will be a tough year and a tough recovery for Coach Paul Johnson there. All I can tell you is Georgia Tech doesn't have the money to fire this guy, and that's the problem. They had to pay him for 2 or 3 more years. So, all right, AutoZone Liberty Bowl in Memphis. We're not going to talk about that one. It's irrelevant, people. That's all I'm going to say. Chick-fil-A Bowl held at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. This could be one of the best bowl games. ACC standout Clemson versus LSU, SEC standout. This may be one of the best Chick-fil-A bowls in the last probably 8 years. I'm excited about this game. Give us your pick.
Chick-fil-A always has some intriguing matchups. You got Taj Boyd, who's been all-world this year, passing for the Tigers, against Zach Meckenberger, who's just been serviceable. Both have pretty good run games. LSU's running back by committee, and Clemson as Ellington, who
Sammy Watkins and Ellington.
Sammy Watkins, Ellington, and also DeAndre Hopkins, who's been their leading receiver this year.
Right.
I think LSU is going to win this game on the back of their defense. Kevin Minter and Eric Reed, and those guys are going to dominate. Barkevius Mingo, Sam Montgomery. I think they'll dominate up front, and I think Clemson's going to score some points. And I think also LSU is going to be able to score some points against Clemson's defense. So they've struggled at times, especially at the linebacker defensive back spot. So I think LSU is going to win. Close game, 3 points. I'd say less than a touchdown. I think LSU will win the game.
I think I'm flip-flopping with you. I think Clemson will actually win this game because I don't think, other than maybe Texas A&M or somebody like that, LSU hadn't seen the kind of air firepower that Todd Boyd and these guys can put out there. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens and to see what they're able to do with that. So with that being said, guys, I'm going Clemson. You're going LSU. That's going to be an interesting matchup as well. All right, TaxSlayer.com, Gator Bowl, irrelevant. We're not worried about that one. Heart of Dallas, Cotton Bowl, which I thought would be a different matchup, but it's not. It's Purdue versus Oklahoma State. I'm not worried about that one as much. Outback Bowl, South Carolina versus Michigan. Another great matchup. That game will be New Year's Day down at Raymond James Stadium.
I think South Carolina is going to win this game just in short on the back of their strong defense. Their defensive front is just with Taylor and Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, they're NFL-ready guys, and I think they're going to win. Offensively, they're good enough to score on Michigan, and defensively, they're going to shut Michigan down. I think South Carolina wins this one.
I think Michigan gets destroyed just like they did against Alabama in the first game of the season. I'm going South Carolina in this game as well. Now, a lot of people in the area are going to be hyped and excited about this one. I'll be at this game as well. Capital One Bowl down in Orlando, Georgia versus Nebraska. It's going to be an interesting game because you got Taylor Martinez. Is it Tyler Martinez? Taylor Martinez at Nebraska, who is a very versatile quarterback, kind of like the Heisman Trophy winner up there at Texas A&M.
Right.
He can run and throw the ball. But I still think Georgia, here's the problem I have, people. Georgia loses one of its anchors on that defense up front. Big John Jenkins is ruled academically ineligible. This is going to hurt the Georgia defense because he commands a double and triple team up front when he's doing some penetration on that Todd Grantham 3-4 defense. I'm worried about that.
You're going to have to lean heavily on Kwame Gathers, big number 99. And the thing about Jenkins and Gathers, they've been rotating in and out. because they can't stand. They're so big that they get winded. Yeah. So who's going to be the guy that's going to step in and give Kwame Gathers a spell, give him a blow this game? I think you're right. It's going to depend on Georgia's defensive front. I think Georgia should win this game. It's going to be a letdown game for them because they were this close to a national championship berth against Notre Dame, but they weren't able to get there. So it's going to be difficult, I think, for them to get up. But I think that they'll win. But I think it'll be close.
Give me a score. Give me a score. What you think on this
I
game?
think Georgia is going to be able to score on them. I think they'll put up, probably 4 touchdowns. I'll say 28 points. But I also think that, sometimes that defense can be susceptible to the run. Taylor Martinez is second on the team in rushing. He has over 900 yards rushing this year. So I think that they'll probably give up probably 20 or so points. So I think 28-20, I think Georgia wins.
I think Nebraska actually wins the game myself, just because of this fact that John Jenkins is out as well.
Yeah.
It hurts them up front. And this team still hasn't gotten over losing to Alabama. The media hadn't gotten over it. They haven't let Coach Rick get over it. They haven't let these players get over losing to Alabama and an opportunity to play in a national championship game. I think it's a letdown game for them. I think Nebraska slips up on them and takes an opportunity to knock off an NCC team. Wisconsin versus Stanford in the Rose Bowl again, New Year's Day, 5 o'clock p.m. Again, one of the better games, I think. The Big Ten versus the Pac-12 champion. Again, I think this is going to be an outstanding game. I'm picking Stanford in this game in the Rose Bowl, winning in Pasadena.
I think Stanford is going to win this game as well. Stephon Taylor has been really good this year, and I really like what they've been able to do with their offense under Coach David Shaw. And Wisconsin has Coach Alvarez will be coaching their team in this game, but I think he's just the interim coach because they lost their coach to Arkansas. So I think Stanford is going to win this game. I do think that I think it'll be a decisive touchdown or more.
Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, January the 3rd. Pitts, Oregon versus Kansas State. I think everybody's going to watch this game. It's going to be exciting. It's in prime time, 8:30 p.m. I think this is going to be a very exciting game. I'm actually going Oregon in this game because I think they've got too much firepower over Kansas State.
I'm taking Kansas State because Oregon has some looming NCAA sanctions. Is Chip Kelly going to stay? Is he going to go? And I just think there's too much distraction going on. I think Coach Klein, Colin Klein and Coach Snyder, I think they're going to have the firepower to get through, although you're right, Oregon has a lot of firepower, but I think Kansas State wins with defense and scoring.
Last game we're going to pick this week, guys, AT&T Cotton Bowl, Texas A&M versus Oklahoma. We're going to have to do this one real quick at Jerry World. I'm going Texas A&M with the first opportunity. Here's two teams that have played against each other in the Big Ten for years past. This is the first year SEC, Big 12, SEC Big 12. I'm going Texas A&M in this game because, again, you got your Heisman Trophy winner on the team.
Yeah, it's Landry Jones versus Johnny Manziel. I think Johnny Manziel is clearly the better player, more exciting, is going to do more for his team, and I think Texas A&M wins this game. I say more than a touchdown. All
right, guys, coming up next, we'll have Brandon Evans, Sports Night sports anchor, will be joining me to do a little Pro Bowl. We're going to obviously run down the Pro Bowl selections and our NFL picks. So stick around right here for the Flint Energies. We have Flint Energies, the College Bowl picks right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38, brought to you by Flint Energies. All right, guys, welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. Joining me right now, my good friend Brandon Evans, host of the Sports Night right here on TV 38 WRWR, your Middle Georgia sports leader. All right, guys, we just talked a little College Bowl. Now we're going to get into the NFL right now. And, Brandon, we want to definitely dig into the NFL Pro Bowl rosters were released earlier this week, and the starters. And it's kind of an interesting cast here and a couple of names that got left off. Obviously, the familiar names on this roster, Aaron Rodgers being in there, Matt Ryan right now, who's a reserve at quarterback. He had an opportunity. He's second in the NFL in passing yards and first in efficiency and completion percentage right now, 100.2 quarterback rating. Unbelievable stats for Matt Ryan this year. Obviously, this is the year that he really, truly deserved to be a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, the big stigma that he's got is he hasn't won a playoff game.
Right.
Now, but if you look at the regular seasons he's had, he's just been lights out. And this was really the year where they thought that he was going to take that next step, and he definitely did. I think that having Julio and Roddy and Tony just has made him just an amazing quarterback. You talk about some people that you usually see on there that you don't see on there. Where's Drew Brees?
Yeah, Drew Brees had a tough year. He had about as many touchdowns this year as he did interceptions on a losing team. And the reason he's off is because the rookie RG3, Robert Griffin III, was added on there. A young man who looks like he could possibly be the front runner for the NFC Rookie of the Year. He makes it in as the third quarterback as well. But you'll see some changes. You might end up seeing Drew Brees added to this roster if the Atlanta Falcons can make it to the Super Bowl, or Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers can also advance deep into the playoffs. You'll see some quarterbacks kind of fall off and people fall off and other players get an opportunity to play.
You will. The Pro Bowl is so different than any other all-star game
because
it's at the end of the year. People
sucks.
are banged up. They don't care about it. Sometimes they want to go to Hawaii, enjoy. I've
been to it several times. It sucks, man. You've got a 90,000 seat venue with about 25,000 people in it. People don't travel. The guys don't want to play. Nobody wants to get hurt. That game sucks. And listen, guys. The one year that I thought the game was successful was the year they had Indianapolis won the Super Bowl, when they had it in Miami. The Pro Bowl was sold out. It was in Miami. A lot of people were there. It was the week before the Super Bowl. That was the one time I enjoyed the Pro Bowl game. Even though I wasn't going to Hawaii, it was still fun to watch. And I still say the Pro Bowl game, if they move that game somewhere around like they do the Super Bowl each year, if they had it in Arizona, if they had it in California, if they had it here in Miami, in Atlanta, so forth, so on, give these teams something to buy for with these stadiums. You host a Super Bowl, host an All-Star or Pro Bowl game. Then I think you'd get some excitement about it again. Nobody has the kind of money after the holidays to go, to go to Hawaii half the time and watch a Pro Bowl game.
I thought you did, buddy.
Hey man, I get a free ride, bro. I love that. I wouldn't pay to go watch that. I'm telling you.
The problem with the Pro Bowl is because football is unlike any other sport. It's not a sport where you can play in the middle of the season. You can't play a Pro Bowl in the middle of the season and worry about injury. It's not like basketball or hockey or these other games where you can maybe risk injury and play the game. Pro Bowl, you have to play it at the end of the season. But I do agree with you. I think if they keep it in the continental United States, maybe make it the week before the playoffs or before the Super Bowl, as you were saying, then maybe you might have a little bit more people interested, but it's still kind of fighting a losing battle, I think.
I think so as well. I don't think we'll see a Pro Bowl in another 2 or 3 years. You'll see guys just get that bonus. All right, running backs on the NFC, Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch, Frank Gore, fullback, Jerome Felton from the Vikings. Wide receiver, here's my first snub. Calvin Johnson, obviously on pace to possibly broke Jerry Rice's record, on pace for 2,000 yards. Brandon Marshall had an outstanding season, my Pro Bowl wide receiver. Victor Cruz for the Giants and Julio Jones from your Atlanta Falcons. Here's the thing. Roddy White had more catches, more yards, and 2 fewer touchdowns. That's going to cause a little dissension in the ranks because he had better stats than Julio Jones did other than touchdown catches. I'm telling you right now, that's going to cause some dissension in the locker room. I know Roddy White, I promise you.
Yeah, I'm sure Roddy's probably a little upset about that. But, there were some games where Roddy just totally disappeared. Now, there were some games where Julio disappeared too, but it was because he was injured. Every game that Julio played in, he was a factor. There were some games where Roddy you couldn't even tell he was in the game. So I think maybe that went into consideration, although you did say Roddy's stats in some areas a lot better.
More catches, 18 more catches, 212 more receiving yards. I'm telling you right now, guys, and the yards per catch, 18.1 for Roddy, 18.4 for Julio. Here's the difference, 12 touchdowns to Roddy's 10 touchdowns. That is the only difference. And I'm telling you, Roddy had more games where his touchdowns, to my mind, mattered more in the games that they won. So, again, we'll see how that turns out. How about our Atlanta Falcons? The ageless one, Tony Gonzalez, starts at tight end. He beats out Jason Witten, who broke Tony's record last week of 103 catches by a tight end. Joe Staley for the 49ers, Russell Okung, Trent Williams, offensive lineman, Mike Upati, Jari Evans for the Saints, Chris Snead for the Giants, center Max Unger, and Jeff Saturday for the Packers. Now, defense, Jason Pierre-Paul for the Giants, JPP, we know he's a great player. Julius Peppers for the Bears. I think he may not have deserved to get on there with the season he's had this year. He didn't have an outstanding season. I think Charles Johnson for the Carolina Panthers had a much better season than Julius Peppers did this year and had 6 more sacks. Jared Allen, obviously, making it again, having some unbelievable stats. Justin Smith, Henry Melton. But, guys, let's go down this list. Here's where you see all the stuff go into place. Look at the 49ers defense. You've got Justin Smith, defensive tackle, makes it. Alden Smith, linebacker, makes it. Patrick Willis, middle linebacker, makes it. Navarro Bowen, middle linebacker, makes it. Deshaun Golson, free safety, makes it as a starter. Strong safety, Dante Whitner, makes it. Guys, this is a 49er-laden defense, and it's unbelievable the things that they were able to do this year defensively.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about defense wins championships, but they haven't had a chance to play for the championship yet. They were dropped a pass away from being in the Super Bowl last year, but that defense is just amazing. You talk about athletes up and down that roster, getting pressure. There's such an intimidating defense every week that's got to be an offensive coordinator's nightmare when you're like, let's see, week 12, it's the 49ers, crap. So, it's just one of those things where you talk about Patrick Willis. We thought that he was, the linebacker among linebackers a couple years ago. Now he's got a supporting cast that makes him just one of the guys. He's talking about Navarro Bowman, who came out of nowhere and has just had an amazing year. And Alden Smith, these guys are just amazing.
Alden Smith with an opportunity to break Michael Strahan's 22 sacks in a season. He's only 3 sacks away from that, actually 2.5 sacks away from that. Right now, he and J.J. Watt up in Houston. Yeah. Both of them are only 2.5 sacks away. All right, guys, real quick, we're going to run down as quickly as possible because we know we're up against the clock. AFC Pro Bowlers, again, quarterback Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Matt Schaub makes the Pro Bowl as well for the 2nd year in a row, I believe. But there's a name we don't see on there, and it's Andrew Luck, who's vying for the Rookie of the Year, but he didn't make the Pro Bowl, so he's not even the top 3 in his own conference.
Yeah, I think he threw too many interceptions this year as a rookie. I think, he's obviously the reason why they went from, 4-11 to 11-4 or whatever. They basically flip-flopped from last year. Basically the defense and the wide receiver, everybody's the same except for Andrew Luck. So I think that, along with the fact playing motivated for Chuck Pagano, who was battling cancer, is just an amazing story. Andrew Luck, a small, pimple or whatever on his resume this year of him not making the Pro Bowl, but he'll get there eventually.
And you mentioned Chuck Pagano. If Bruce Arians does not win Coach of the Year this year, even though he was an interim coach, if he does not win Coach of the Year this year, there's an issue. Double-digit wins from 2 wins only a year ago. Yeah. Running back Arian Foster, Jamal Charles, Ray Rice. How about former Georgia Bulldog in his 2nd year in the league, makes his 2nd All-Star game, A.J. Green, Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne, Wes Welker, all familiar names. Rod Gronkowski. I don't know how Gronkowski makes it as a starter at tight end when this guy has missed about 7 games this season. Yeah. It's hard to believe.
He's got a broken arm, doesn't he?
Yeah, but obviously that tells you there were not too many other good tight ends in the AFC this year. Offensive linemen, obviously notable, Ryan Clady, Logan Mankins, Maurice Pouncey, so forth, so on. How about on the defense, guys? Here's where you get where it gets interesting. J.J. Watt obviously should be there. Cameron Wake, Atlanta Falcons had an opportunity to draft him a couple years ago. He makes it in. Good job for him. Elvis Dumerville, Geno Atkins, Vince Wilfork, Haloti Ngata, the names. Again, Geno Atkins, former Georgia Bulldog. He was a 3rd-round draft pick, people, out of Cincinnati. He was drafted after they drafted Andy Dalton in the 3rd round. This guy's 2 years after removed. He's a Pro Bowler. That tells you what kind of product the Georgia Bulldogs are putting out. Von Miller, Tomba Ali, Gerard Mayo, these some great players. How does Champ Bailey keep making these Pro Bowls as a starter?
Champ Bailey is just, I guess it's that a lot, when you see in MLB All-Star games, a lot of people make it because of their namesake. I think he makes it because he has so much respect from all the players and coaches throughout his body of work, throughout his career. He's still considered one of the best shutdown corners in the AFC. I don't necessarily know if he deserves to make it. Maybe
even as a starter. It's just surprising to me. The one thing that he gets that is to his advantage is this. he doesn't get scored on a lot. And he defends pass. He doesn't get a lot of interceptions, but he defends passes well. All right, guys, another Georgia product from up in the Metro Atlanta area. Eric Berry with the Chiefs make it as well. LaRon Landry and Ed Reed. Jonathan Joseph obviously rounding out that product as well for the Pro Bowlers for the AFC. Brandon, any names that you can think of that were left off of either one of these rosters?
I think Russell Wilson should have maybe got some consideration on the NFC side. I think that Tony Romo and Eli Manning both had good numbers to be considered for the Pro Bowl, but Eli's were mostly in the beginning of the year. Romo's were both mostly at the end of the year. They didn't have a complete season enough to get on there. I really like what Doug Martin did, the rookie out of Tampa Bay. I thought he might have got some consideration at the running back position. But and then as we talked about, Roddy White possibly. But I think for the most part, they hit the nail on the head.
I think they hit it on the head as well. And we'll try to see if we can, if I'll try to see if I can keep hitting the nail on the head with my picks coming up next. Right here, I was 4-1 this past week. Brandon was 3-2. It all came down to that Seattle Seahawks game up in Seattle. I told you guys, believe in Russell Wilson. Right here on the Sports Wrap, we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll do our NFL pick'em right here, Sports Wrap TV 38. We'll be back. And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. Guys are joining me again for this segment where we do our NFL Pick'em. My good friend Brandon Evans, who he's been noble throughout this process. He's been close in some weeks. He hasn't been. He beat me actually a week or so ago in my picks. I had a horrible week 2 weeks ago, but kind of redeemed myself this week. Picking some underdog teams as well this past week. I ended up 4-1 in my NFL picks. Brandon was 3-2. We were texting each other back and forth that night of the game, talking about some, it all hinges on this Seattle game, who wins. Yeah. And yours truly, I picked Russell Wilson. I told you that the Seattle Seahawks are hard to beat at home. That's going to be something we look at in this week's games. Well, during that time, since the last time we were on air, our Atlanta Falcons wrapped up home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. They don't have to leave the Georgia Dome until they get beat, which has normally been in the first round or the second round.
Not this year.
So we'll hopefully, listen, you and I talked a little bit earlier about the fact that Matt Ryan, the knock on Ryan, Matty Ice, has been what? He hasn't won a playoff game.
Yeah. But that's all going to end this year. And I think that the pieces are in place for him now. I think that he's going to get the proverbial monkey off his back because I think that Matt Ryan, unlike a lot of other quarterbacks, plays well under pressure. And I think that finally now the pressure really is he's going to know that if he does not win a playoff game this year, then that's all he's going to hear during the offseason. That's all they're going to hear next year because that's all you heard this year when they were, 9-0, 10-0, 11-1. That's all you heard. Well, yeah, it's nice now, but when do they win a playoff game? So this is the year that they have to do it, and I think this is the year they do it.
Well, then how deep do you think they go? Do you think they make it to the Super Bowl? Do you think they make it to the NFC Championship game?
It's going to depend on when they play, I think, San Francisco or Seattle. I think those are the two teams that they don't match up with well. I think they match up well pretty much with everybody else in the NFC, but those are the two teams that you kind of have to see where they would play them, how they're going to play them, who stays healthy. There's a lot of factors going. It's hard to predict right now.
Give me your first team again that you said. You said Seattle is your second team. They don't match up again. What's the first?
San Fran.
Here's my thoughts on that. You and I are on the same accord, on one accord in this aspect of this. I think they can beat the Green Bay Packers. I think they can beat the New York Giants like they've done already. I think they can actually beat the Redskins. They've done it already this year. It's going to be hard for the Atlanta Falcons to beat a team that has a legitimate running game and a decent passing game, which now San Francisco and Seattle both have. Marshawn Lynch, Frank Gore, both Pro Bowlers this year, Pro Bowlers on this NFC team. I think that's where they're deficient right now is trying to stop the run, and I think that gives them trouble. Same thing that they did. That's what happened why they lost to Carolina, I think. Cam Newton had 150-plus yards rushing and 200 yards passing. It just, any team that can run the ball seems to give them trouble.
Yeah, it's been their Achilles heel, and let's hope that they shore up that defensive front, at least that front eight, before they get into the playoffs because, those are two teams that have solid, Seattle and San Francisco have solid running games.
Well, Mike Smith came out this week and said he's going to do things a little bit different this bye week for the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, they don't have a bye week this week. They have to play Tampa at home in a game that's seemingly meaningless for the seeding or anything else for Atlanta Falcons, but it can determine whether their momentum keeps going or not. They play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have really nothing to play for other than just to beat up on the Atlanta Falcons. This game is at the Georgia Dome, 1 p.m. I'm actually picking Tampa Bay to win this game because earlier this year, guys, at the beginning of the season, I picked the Atlanta Falcons to go 13-3. And I picked them to lose one time to Tampa. I picked them to lose once to Carolina as well and once to New Orleans. I'm telling you right now, I think that's what it'll pan out this year.
All right, I think Tampa's going to win too, but I'm going to take Atlanta only because I can't beat you in these picks unless I pick opposite of you. And I'm going to think, the Falcons don't have anything to play for except a little bit of momentum, and hopefully their reserves are better than Tampa, who also has nothing to play for. So two teams, nothing to play for. I'm going to go with the Falcons because they're at home. They're at the dome.
Only thing I can tell you teams like Tampa have to play for is they're NFL professional players that get paid. They're playing for their jobs because they can't make it to the playoffs. They can't win games. The coaching staff is going to evaluate, and they're going to get players in there that they think they can. So a lot of those players are going to be playing for their jobs. Baltimore at Cincinnati, another 1 o'clock game at Paul Brown Stadium. This game is going to be very interesting. Cincinnati already into the playoffs right now. Baltimore playing to get in. I'm going Baltimore in this game, and they're going to hold out Ray Lewis for another week. I think Baltimore wins this game in a nail-biter.
I think Ray Lewis plays.
Well, they said he already said he wasn't
They said he's not going to play?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, in that case, I'm taking Cincinnati. I'm going to take another home team, another team that's already in the playoffs. Baltimore's going to be a little bit hungrier. But Cincinnati looked really good last week.
This game is for the division championship. So
yeah, I'm taking Cincy.
All right, you're going Cincy. I'm going Baltimore in that game. Houston at Indianapolis. I love what the NFL. Thank you so much for placing these games at the end of the season that means something. Houston at Indy, another matchup for the division championship. Houston's kind of been reeling, lost a couple games. Indy has been on a 7-game win streak with Bruce Arians, and what they've done, they secured a playoff spot. This game is in Indianapolis. I'm actually going with Indy in this game in the upset over Houston to win the AFC South.
Wow. Well, we're going to differ again. First thing, I'm taking Houston. We got a chance to watch some of that Houston-Indy game up in the press box when we were at the Georgia Dome. A very, very close game. Now, if Arian Foster has this irregular heartbeat issue and can't play, and then they have to go with whoever their backup is. It Ben Tate? Because Ben Tate's been banged up all year, and I don't know if they're the same team. We see what happens when they have to put everything on Matt Schaub's shoulders. Hopefully, Andre Johnson has a 200-yard game and Houston wins, but I think Houston does win this game.
All right, 4 o'clock game, 4:25 game to be exact. A lot of games kind of flexed in and out, guys. Looks like they flexed out the Miami game, which was supposed to be a 1 o'clock game. That game was moved to 4:25 because the NFL did not want the seeding for the AFC locked up and secured early on before the other games were meaningless. So Green Bay at Minnesota, another game for playoff spot seeding. Green Bay, if they win and San Francisco loses, Green Bay gets a first-round bye. If Minnesota wins and Green Bay loses, Minnesota makes it into the playoffs and earns a playoff spot, which could also help Adrian Peterson possibly win the MVP award. I'm actually going with the Minnesota Vikings in this game.
I'm going to go with Green Bay. I can't believe we've disagreed on every single one. That never happens. But I think that the problem is that Green Bay knows that Minnesota wants Adrian Peterson to get that record. So they're going to come out throwing the ball. They're going to try to get that early lead so that it takes the running game out of the equation. And then Adrian Peterson not only does not break Eric Dickerson's record, but Green Bay wins.
Yeah, and see, I think that's where the mistake is. I think Green Bay is going to be so focused on stopping Adrian Peterson on the run, they're going to leave the flats and the seams wide open with those 8-9 in the box, and I think you'll see Christian Ponder actually have an opportunity to beat the Green Bay Packers.
Who?
Christian Ponder.
Who?
Yeah, Florida State, Christian Ponder.
Never heard
Dallas
of him.
Cowboys, last game, guys, we're going to pick. This is, again, for the division championship. Dallas Cowboys at the Washington Redskins. Washington could lose this game and still make it into the playoffs if Minnesota loses. And Dallas has to win this game to even make it to the playoffs to win the division. The winner of this game wins the division. 8:20 game on NBC. I'm going with the Washington Redskins at home and RG3, who was my rookie of the year this year.
Yeah, we actually do agree on something. I like Washington Redskins as well. I like RG3, especially at home. I think Romo, unlike other quarterbacks, cracks under pressure. And I think this is the big stage that everybody's been waiting for Romo to just finally show up and bobble a snap or throw it directly to the defensive player. I think it's Romo's time to not shine, and I take the Redskins.
Yeah, and I'm gonna change what I just said. I think my rookie of the year actually is not RG3. It's actually Russell Wilson. 3rd round draft choice, 5'10". Seattle started since the beginning of the year. I mean, started every single game this year. He's not missed one game, and he's done some great things. His passing efficiency is great as well. But again, guys, all right, our picks right now. We've got 3 opposite picks right now for these games. And I think that's going to be exciting. We'll wrap this season up. I think I have an insurmountable lead right now as far as the picks are concerned. But we've got a lot of great football coming up, guys. Thank you so much for watching this week's Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. Thanks again to Craig Lawson, my good friend here, Brandon Evans, Brad Boswick, and for each and every one of you guys, have a happy and safe New Year. Feliz Navidad.
See you next
all
year.
That other stuff. Ave Maria. See you guys next year. We're out of here.